My name is Vicki Armstrong, and I'm a volunteer with the American Friends Service Committee. And as such, I attended a number of the Charter Review Commission meetings. And as Bruce pointed out, we had a kind of an interesting group of people who were appointed by the mayor to be on the Charter Review Commission. We had the four former or current council people. We had, and that was Jerry Albanese, John Frank, Gary Moneypenny, and Marco Somerville. We had Sophie Albrecht, who is calling herself an independent human resources professional. She's the wife of Steve Albrecht, who owns Acme. We have the chief of staff and the vice president at Akron U, Candace Campbell-Jackson. She's also an attorney, apparently non-practicing. She's the chief of staff to the president of the university, Dr. Parenza. We had William D. Rich, who's an associate professor of law at Akron U. He unfortunately, or fortunately, I'm not sure which, I don't know how he came out, has researched equal protection under the Constitution and the First Amendment. I find that a little odd. We have Elizabeth Quirk-Sheeler, who is communications officer of the Akron Art Museum. And we have Jacqueline Silas Butler, who's the executive director of Project GRAD, which is an organization that helps get students into college. We didn't have any small business people. We didn't have any clerks. We didn't have anybody who works in manufacturing. We didn't have any public school teachers like Bruce and Christy and I all were.
No union people?
No union people.
No citizens?
No secretaries. You know, this is a very elite group.
Right.
And I was appalled at many of these meetings for the utter contempt that they showed for the citizens.
I know you went to some of the meetings, Vicki.
It was very distressing to hear how they thought of us.
Right, and you guys made a number of suggestions to them, and I know they listened, but they didn't hear, because they didn't come up with one single recommendation of regular people like you, Vicki. And unfortunately, the whole process has been undemocratic. And as far as this scurrilous piece, we'll just leave that for what it is. It's a childish attempt to discredit the messengers rather than talk about the issues, and we're not going to stoop to that level. And I oppose each and every one of these issues myself. Now, is there anybody here that's in favor of it, that would like to sit in for Citizens for Akron, since they chose not to send anybody? Because I want to be fair. I want to be fair, because the reason I decided to have this, I was watching it, the notices about some of the other ward meetings that my colleagues on council had, and oh, there's Warner Mendenhall. So they always had somebody from the city to represent the issues, okay? Warner, you want to be the sit-in for Citizens for Akron? No, I mean, but we need somebody. They chose not to send a representative, so we're just getting ready to get started here, and this is one of the scoundrels there, the lead scoundrel maybe, but anyways. But I just think it's so childish, and this stuff doesn't shock me, because all this stuff has been said about me, all these lies and distortions have been said about me, and I feel sorry for a couple individuals that really got dragged into this that don't deserve it, like Greg, because he's not a politician. I'm a politician, so I expect this kind of stuff, and it's all been said before. Warner's run for political office, and so is Ernie. So, but with that, does anybody else want to say anything briefly so we can get started here? Because we're going to have each one of these things we want to discuss, and then we'll talk about each one of them separately. So come on in. But issue 11 is the first one, and it says, shall Section 59 of the Charter of the City of Akron be amended to include the establishment of the Department of Economic and Job Development? Shall Section 95 of the Charter of the City of Akron be amended to increase amounts beyond which bids must be taken, or the Board of Control doesn't say how much, by the way, or council approval must be given. That's the second issue. Shall section 105 of the Charter of the City of Akron be amended to include certain additional provisions within the unclassified service, whatever that means. Shall section 112 of the Charter of the City of Akron be amended to broaden the protection against discrimination, there's the sugarcoating right there, for individuals seeking employment and currently employed by the City of Akron. Shall section 136 of the Charter of the City of Akron be amended to require that the percentage of votes be based upon, this is the really important one, shall the charter be amended to require the percent of the votes be based upon qualified electors registered to vote at the last preceding general municipal election.
5.
Okay, and this is the last one, and shall section 142 of the Charter of Akron be amended to permit a charter review commission to convene prior to a 10-year period. That's 6.
6.
So,
is anybody confused?
So, okay, does anybody really know what all that stuff means? Okay,
turn to our
attorney
consultant.
Okay, this is probably the biggest one.
It's huge.
It's huge. There's a lot of very important things here, and let me just say this here. This stuff didn't really come, in my opinion, this stuff really didn't come from the Charter Review Commission. It came from the mayor's law director who sat in on all their meetings and I think kind of spoon-fed them. I get that feeling everything that the mayor wanted was included here. So, Warner, you want to say something about this issue 11?
Well, just at the state level, we have a rule called the single subject rule. You may have heard of that. And when you put something on the ballot, it should be a single subject. And the reason for that rule at the state level is exactly to avoid this kind of confusion. And to avoid the situation where you have a sugar coating, say a discrimination provision, on a poison pill, which is a power grab by the mayor. What I'm most concerned about this issue is, A, it allows the mayor to have more appointed positions. These are people he appoints, he controls the hiring and the firing. They're not classified civil service, they're unclassified, and they act very politically in their jobs. The second issue is they're trying to gut our ability as citizens to make changes to our own charter. Now, we have only made changes to our charter a handful of times since this charter was adopted, many, many, many decades ago. About, I think, 5 times we've had issues on the ballot. A few of them have passed. One of those was to save our sewers. I think everybody remembers that.
2 years ago.
Another one was to have campaign finance reform to limit donations to our politicians. Those were great changes that the citizens of Akron were able to do, which we will not be able to do and would not have been able to do if if the charter were changed in this way.
Why is that, Warner? Tell us
It's just
why.
it's too many signatures. We, I forget exactly how many, but right now you need about 5,000 to 6,000 signatures in order to end up with 3,600 valid signatures. That's the current requirement.
And what's that based on?
It's based on the number of people who voted in the last municipal election.
People that voted. Okay.
If this changes, it's going to be based on the number of registered voters. There's 130,000 registered voters. And if we wanted to make a change to our own laws, to our own charter, we'd have to go out and get 20,000 or more signatures just in order to qualify, to get it on the ballot. That is a huge, very, very difficult task.
Less than 10,000 people voted in the last municipal election.
Right.
So they're trying to say that this standardized, I can see people screaming. They're trying to say, the opposition says it standardizes things, and we'll talk about it more in issue 12. But truly it doesn't, because you think of how many people are registered to vote that have moved, that have unfortunately passed away, that never vote anyways. I mean, it's crazy, and it's impossible. I mean, we've hit the streets trying to get signatures for some other things. It's difficult. I mean, this man right here, above nobody else can get signatures, but, he'll tell you, it's very difficult. So, to look at a charter amendment change to get 26,000 valid signatures is crazy, and it takes our power away. And this is, the whole thing about issue 11. It takes our democratic rights away. And it puts more power and accountability with the mayor's office rather than with us. Unclassified positions, they don't answer to us. They're hired and fired by the mayor.
Right.
So, it's just like when we're getting a new police chief. He's
Let me
hired and
address the
fired by mayor.
unclassified positions real quickly. In this campaign, right now, the unclassified people are out campaigning for the mayor to get all these changes on the ballot. They're going to work. Some of them are leaving work in the middle of the day. They're putting up yard signs. They're knocking on doors. They're making phone calls. They're doing polling. We're paying their salaries, and they're working against us every day. He wants more people in there to work the way he directs them to work, not necessarily for us.
And nobody's against anti-discrimination rules.
Don't we already have laws against that?
We do. We already have laws against that. So, but unfortunately, there's 6 things in this. So if you want to vote against the other 5 because you think they're bad, then you're voting against anti-discrimination, which morally makes you unsettled. But if I was somebody that this law, the anti-discrimination law affected me personally, I would be mad at the city because you know what? They took something that affects me personally and they wrapped it in with all their other stuff, and now that's going to fail. And that's not fair to people.
And you notice they put that early on in this wording, and the real bad one is buried at the end, and it's not really put in context. It really doesn't say, okay, we're going to change it to the, it doesn't say we're going to amend it to require the percentage of votes be based on qualified electors. People, regular people, I'm not saying people are dumb, they just don't know what that means, okay, unless you put it in context. And you explain it to them that right now, what is it right now? Okay, right now it's based on the number of people that voted in the last municipal election, a percentage of that. Okay, rather than this big group of 130,000 people, you take a percentage of that. So, and some of the other provisions, like it doesn't say anything about what they're increasing this to. It says amend to increase the amount beyond which bids must be taken by the Board of Control. Well, right now, the rule is $15,000. Anything over $15,000 has to go to council approval. They want to double that to $30,000. So that doesn't spell that out.
And that's without council approval. And again, that's accountability to us as voters.
Right. So there's a number of things here. Most of them are bad. The anti-discrimination is probably good. But like what I said, there's already laws against that. And I think that's the sugarcoating they just threw in here for to make it more palatable to the voters. So go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir.
What I don't understand is why they put the anti-discrimination there. I mean, you said it because it's already in law.
Yeah, we already have that.
Right.
So what's next?
That would be a really good question.
This
And
is
if
just a
somebody from
summary.
Citizens for Akron was here,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, and if somebody from Citizens for Akron were here, that's a question that I personally have that I have not gotten answered. And you'll find that's a common theme kind of throughout some of these.
vote grabber.
Yeah.
Exactly, because I've knocked on doors and people tell me, oh, I voted against all that except for that anti-discrimination
Yeah.
thing because
Yeah.
people deserve that.
You're subversive.
I just wonder, Warner, how did they get away with this ballot language if the state law requires that a charter amendment only address one issue? How did?
Our local municipal law, I mean, one of the problems that always comes up with these types of things, this maybe could have been litigated. We maybe could have done a lawsuit. We don't really have time, and we just felt like it was better to get out there, hit the streets, knock on doors, and talk about this, try to convince people about what's happening, let them know what's happening, and just vote it down.
Right.
I think this probably could be challenged, maybe on the single subject rule, maybe on a couple of other areas. The language is deceiving, for one. But we don't have time for a 6-month or 1-year court process. We got an election next week.
Right.
So it's better to be out here talking to you guys, knocking on doors. Thanks, Ernie. And getting the word out, and just vote this down.
Does anybody else have any questions about issue 11 or anything they got to say? Okay. All right, let's move on to issue 12. Okay, let me read it quickly.